people are like always say like I'm Iron Man, but I'm just not as cool. And just like that like comes up a lot. And then at the end it is like some sort of suit.
Yeah,
or he's like, I am Iron Man. And then he kills the bad guy.
He totally kills the big boss. Just turns him into a smear.
Hello and welcome to StoryFellas, the podcast where we make stories and we break stories. I'm your host, Tommy Antonucci.
And I'm your host, Zach Lovelace.
And we're here. We're at it again. If you hear random background noise, my wife's catching up with some people in our house. And hey, I'm not going to put a kibosh on that. So we're just going to deal with it. You'll just hear some light
deal with it,
in the
audience.
background.
Okay, deal with it already.
Just deal with it.
Just deal with it.
Coming into the show with some hostility.
Yeah.
I love it. How's it going, Zach?
It's going good, man. It's going good. It's been a pretty solid week. I have tomorrow off to work on my documentary. I just officially took it off for work because it's that last 5% of the thing, you know, is the same amount of energy as the first 95% of it for some reason. Why, God, did you build the universe with this metric in it? I don't know, but I am currently faced with it. So, I just got my work cut out for me. Feeling good about it. How about you?
Nice. I'm doing well. I had a light cold over the weekend, so just trying to bounce back from that. Like not anything bad, but enough to make you lethargic and not want to do anything.
Oh yeah.
But been doing good, trying to get this StoryFellas beast organized. We have a lot of episodes in flux, and just trying to keep them all on track.
You're doing a good job, man. You're doing the Lord's work. Oh man, I flubbed that. Doing the Lord's work. Doing the Lord's worth.
Doing the Lord's worth.
Whatever that means, people.
That'll be our t-shirt if we ever make one. Doing the Lord's worth.
This is a cocktail podcast, so you know we are already a little schlitzed.
I just have water today.
Oh, he's on the wagon.
I'm on the wagon. Just
your sobriety is a judgment against me.
No, I just was mad thirsty. I had like salt. You know when you have like a salty dinner?
Oh, yeah.
And then you're just like, oh my gosh, you just want water.
Oh yeah, dude.
Please.
So this is crazy thing. Everyone in my wife's family, literally everyone, doesn't drink. They will order the tallest glass of water for every meal, but they will not touch it until they are done eating.
They sound like my people, man, because I get ragged on. I get ragged on all the time for this. Like I go to restaurants and Kelsey brings this up and other people bring this up. And because I just don't
have a drink of water, buddy.
It's literally yeah, I done. And then I chug the water. I don't know. It's like subconscious. I just don't think about taking sips of water until
dude, I can't eat without drinking.
I don't know. Like
how do you eat a PB&J? How do you eat a PB&J?
To be fair, something like that's drier.
Yeah.
Put more J on it, man.
Oh, that's fair. I used to make PB&Js with like a whole hump of jelly, and then somebody made fun of me, so I stopped doing that.
No, you can't. You can't. You gotta be you, man.
Be my fat
I did a while back. I was taking a medication that made my throat incredibly dry.
Oh,
and I had to take it for a really long time. But it was like rough. But like I couldn't eat any like just bread. Like I needed to have water, or I would not be able to get it down.
Wow.
And then it was crazy. So I always just had to have water nearby and all of that stuff. And
no spit take, Tommy.
No spit take. It was just like dust all down through my throat. But then and then I didn't have to take it anymore. And I was like, is this what normal life's like again? Holy cow.
I love spit. Gross. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you have spit and, you know, you have the same genetic disorder. It must be an Italian thing because my wife's family's all Italian. So
I need to ask, I need to talk to my dad and stuff and see how he does it.
Oh, my baby, Tommy, it's an Italian thing. We don't drink the water.
I'm going to have a tally of how many times you do an Italian accent on these episodes. This is not the first time.
It'll be a lot.
Audience, go back through and see how many times Zach has done it up to this point.
Please. It's probably 3 or 4 times, whatever. But yeah, dude, I got a surprise for you.
I'm ready. I love surprises.
I hyped you off mic. I hyped you up, and
but I don't know what's happening, so I'm just hyped.
Yeah, you're just hyped, man. So I'm gonna just give you a little bit of my spiel here, and it'll become really obvious. So for those who are new that are listening, we roll off of lists or decks or boards, we call them, all these sorts of things, of different genres, little prompts, or like story scraps that we have, titles even we've done. And I developed one last night that I was really excited to share with Tommy. And so that's what this is about. So for context here, Tommy, there's a rich history between still photography and film. Now, if you're an editor or a DP, you probably know this because what you know is that film is a series of still images. So most commonly 24 frames per second, yada, yada, yada. So it's no wonder that a lot of famous directors, famous films have been made almost wholly or even in part inspired by still images. So with that, I developed a board of images that we can roll on, and we'll have to tell a story based on the image.
Okay. This is an homage to a little game that we used to just play long before this, because I don't know how this started. But Zach would send me random pictures he finds on Instagram.
That makes it sound really weird.
But it's not, it'd be like artwork and stuff, like cool artwork and like comic book drawings that you find from different accounts. And then I would just make up a story from this one with no context of the bigger thing. Yeah. But I don't remember how that started. If you just sent that or we just played around or what?
I think it was because the original recording we did of StoryFellas, which if you can find it, that would be interesting to release at some point. Like the proto episode.
Yeah, way back in the day.
Way back in the day.
Years ago.
It was since then, I think I just would always say story game. And I would send you or what's the story here? I would say something, I could look it up. But I would send you like crazy cool images and be like, what's the story here? And there's a few of them that I tucked away. I think I even told you, like I'm thinking about writing a story about one of those developments that you did. Okay. And I was like, is that cool? Are we okay with that? This was back in the day and I never actually wrote it, but yeah.
Well, we'll talk off mic and I'll take my 5%.
Yeah, I was going to say, you get your lawyer involved, it's fine.
There are a few stories when we played that game that I do want to revisit at some point because some of them are really cool.
They are, yeah. I think it would actually be kind of cool. I could go back and screenshot some, although those are going to be buried in our conversation. But yeah, I'm sure I can find something. Some of
I remember them. They're all up here in the dome.
Oh, really? Okay.
I remember at least 2 of them.
I remember, at least 2 of them that were really, really cool. So anyway, that said, I have 10 images. So I just want you to roll 1 out of 10, and then I will show you the image. Those who are looking on video will obviously be blessed with the ability to see what we're looking at, but also we may post it. I kind of was back and forth in my mind about just, if you're listening, just letting your mind fill in the blanks. I think that's kind of cool, actually. But if you can't help it, we might post it somewhere.
Yeah, it might be. We'll talk after the show. It might be in the show notes and you can click it and link it. But hey, if you just want to visualize with your mind's eye, we will describe what is on.
Yes. In painful detail.
In painful detail. So you want me to roll a 10-sided die?
10-sided die. Yep.
All right, here we go. We are rolling, and it is a 4.
Cool. Let's see. I need to make sure I know what 4 is. Okay. Interesting. All right. I don't want to show you any of the other images.
Okay.
Just so I can keep the board, obviously.
Yeah. So I don't know how this is going to work. Are you going to just export the image or something, or just open just that?
Yeah, right here. Can you see what I'm looking at?
Oh gosh, what?
It's not as crazy as Tommy's reaction is making it seem.
I'm trying to soak in. Okay, so should I describe to the audience what I'm looking at?
You describe what you're looking at.
Okay, so it's kind of like a dimly lit tiled bathroom, old school, and we've got a guy who looks like he's in a jumper, kind of a janitor's outfit, kind of like a one full piece thing. Or actually, no, he's got pants and a shirt.
He has a gun.
He's got a gun. Oh, is that? I couldn't see that on
his hip. I guess so he's got a gun. Yeah, you can't really.
But then we have another gentleman who is squatting on his haunches, like on his toes, balanced on the toilet seat, and the man in the uniform is shaving him. He's got shaving cream all over his face, and he's shaving him. And I don't know. What comes to mind is like he's kind of like a monkey man a little bit, the way
that's
he's
interesting.
perched
Yeah.
there.
So I can give more context to this story.
Yeah, give me some
image.
context.
So this is from Apocalypse Now, and I don't know how I found this. I was just on Pinterest scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and then this image popped up in it, and I just went off what spoke to me. But so it's Martin Sheen on the toilet, getting shaved by, I don't know who this other actor is, but in the story of Apocalypse Now, for those who aren't familiar, his character Martin Sheen is an military guy. I actually don't know what kind of agent he is, but he's given a special mission to go into the Vietnam jungle and hunt down a crazy colonel, a crazy American colonel. So, but he's like drunk and out of his mind. Martin Sheen is, and when they find him, and he's just kind of like, send me back into the jungle. I need a mission. I need a mission. It's kind of broken PTSD style. So I'm assuming that's what's going on here. Is that the army guy is shaving him, getting prepared to like meet with the big head honchos. He's been not been able to take care of himself because he's been so given to drink. So that's my thought on this. It might actually be a BTS thing where this guy was actually just shaving Martin Sheen. That seems a little weirder.
Yeah, the way he's perched on the toilet.
Yeah, it's just like, hey man, let me show you how to shave. But it's compelling. And I think that's actually something that, going back to my notes that I have here, that Dan Gilroy, who was the writer-director of Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal, he was inspired by a book called Naked City, which was a photo book from the 1930s from a crime photographer named Ouija, or his nickname was Ouija. And I pulled a little quote from the Amazon description of the book because I think it kind of encapsulates the magic of these still photography moments and like how you can actually pull a full film out of them. That still photography captures the camera's unique power to capture split-second drama and exaggerated emotion. And so again, there's this kind of odd relationship that we're given to, where one man is, not able to take care of himself. And this other guy's in a uniform and he has a sidearm. There's just so much going on in this picture that warrants questions and kind of pulls you deeper into it, gets your mind going. So with that, I wanted to pick your brain.
That's our prompt. That's our prompt. Kind of that's our starting point. It's interesting because I've not seen Apocalypse Now, so I don't know any of the context of the actors or anything. And where you say the real context is he's not able to take care of himself, and that's why this other guy's doing it. In my interpretation from the picture is that he had this smug look on his face while he's being shaved, like he's entitled. Like it's not because he can't do it, it's because he has so much power that someone like he's wearing like whatever his briefs or whatever and like a towel, and this guy in a full uniform has to come to his whim.
I like that relationship. I think it gives me a little bit of Bruce Wayne, Alfred vibes. Where you definitely wouldn't feel that weird for Alfred to shave him, especially after a night of fighting crime. Again, I'm pushing that into some other territory, but we can use it just like we do our normal prompts. We can totally disrespect the image and just take one thing from it and go. I just think having the central relationship is the thing I want to hold on to. That, like you said, that dynamic of this one guy having either power over him, or maybe the guy is sick or hurt and can't do it, recovering.
Yeah. My natural instinct was that he had power over him, because I thought that was interesting to me, because he's like, from my interpretation of the picture, he acted like he had power, but he was not dressed or carrying himself like he did. He's like
super casual,
haunching over a toilet with a towel on, and he's like, this is not a guy who demands authority, and yet this other dude's like bending over to shave him for him while he's fully capable of doing it.
I think that's the angle we should go with. So let's name these guys, and then we can kind of. I guess we need to understand their relationship a little bit more. The one guy's in a military uniform. We could swap that out in our minds. We could have that be again a butler. We could have that be an assistant. If he's like a business guy.
A nurse or
like
something.
A bodyguard.
Yeah.
I think a bodyguard is interesting because for something
bodyguard
powerful,
is interesting because you're like using this muscly dude to do little menial tasks for you. I like that a lot, actually. I like the bodyguard. So we've got a bodyguard tentatively, and then we have our guy, and I'm trying to think what their relationship is. He just some rich dude?
Yeah, I mean, he could be rich. He could be an inventor. He could be a politician of some kind. You know, it could be anything we want in terms of like political stuff, especially. I mean, he could be a king. He could be a president. It doesn't seem super. He feels very princely. It seems like a prince thing to do, is to really lord your power over people.
Okay.
Or
I feel
like
like
this guy, like a
a prince thing. Like regardless, I feel like he needs to be someone who, I don't know. I feel like most people that would force someone to shave them when they're perfectly capable of shaving themselves has super inflated ego. You know, it just kind of has that.
It's not necessarily. I think it might be so routine. You know, like if this is an older bodyguard that has been taking care of him since he was a boy, he taught him how to shave. It's like it just became part of this thing. It's a little less, that feels like a subplot in a novel almost, just how deep that relationship would be. But I think either way, one of the central conflicts is going to be the threat on the life of the man on the toilet.
I really like the man on the toilet.
I know we're tucking that away. We're tucking that away. I know there's nothing more dramatic than a man on a toilet. Let's just tell you that. But yeah, I like that. I think that's a simple plot. You know, they could be on the run, and then you know, bodyguard might betray him. Might be him the whole time. Is the bodyguard our main character? Probably, just because we would identify with him a little more.
I feel like we identify with him a little bit more. I think he's got some sort of big brother. Because I'm getting the idea of if this guy is someone important, someone princely, something like that, that the location of the image implies they're not in Kansas anymore. They are on harder times. And I think that's interesting where you still have someone who's mildly spoiled, or maybe they're not spoiled or whatever. And the bodyguard doesn't even need to really listen to them anymore, but out of kind of a brotherly affection is still routine, like doing his duty, helping this guy, protecting this guy. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
So
I think
Brody.
Okay. Brody is our bodyguard. Cool.
Like
it feels
Brody.
like a bodyguard name. It's kind
Brody and then Rhodey.
Okay.
Brody and Carmichael.
Okay. Brody and
Carmichael feels like a kind of a
hoity-toity kind of
Yeah.
I like that.
So we need to find out what is their story. If what is their need also? Like where do they start out? Do they start out in good standing? Are they rich? Are we kind of in media res? We see them and start this film.
That's interesting. Yeah, like being able to just jump in on them. You know, like you said, in media res. Yeah, it would take a while to make them fall. I think that's something to consider. Like if you were to set up them being on the run, it would at least have to be your first act. Your first act would break with the inciting incident, the reason that they would be running. You know, maybe it looked like, you know, Carmichael did something bad, or maybe he actually did something bad.
I think early on you said Carmichael could be an inventor, and I think that could be a nice twist.
Yeah, that's their
because rather than him just be like a rich important dude, I think him being like really smart and inventing something, and maybe it breaks bad or hurts people, or maybe they're on the run because bad people are after his invention. And then Brody,
what if he invented a suit of armor that made him invincible? Okay. And he was like, you know, like a tough kind of playboy philanthropist type guy, and then he's
keep going. Then
the bodyguard is like a bigger guy, and he's like kind of a comedic relief, you know. But he like takes care of him. He's like his brother, you know what I mean? And so then that's the whole thing. But then the guy with the armor gets like recruited to be on a team of people that are like super special. What do you think about that?
You did it, man. You did it. I never heard anything like this before.
Yeah. No, I'm getting Tony Stark vibes if we go inventor.
But I don't want him to be suave. I want him to be like socially like
so autistic
inept.
Iron Man.
Well, not even like it doesn't have to be like that. It's like I'm picturing what's his name? Guy from Fantastic Beasts, Newt. Like
yeah, he's
Newt.
Autistic.
Is he?
Yeah, he's supposed to be anyway.
Oh, I didn't know he's supposed to be. But
he's making his way back around. One step ahead of you, man.
But you know what I mean? Like he's not suave like Iron Man. Like he is very focused.
Take that stat way down, and that is interesting.
He's just super talented, and there's tons of characters. I think Ready Player One has that video game person and stuff, like someone who's not good with people, but they're like a prodigy and they're inventing this stuff, and maybe they're kind of come off as rude.
What if
to people?
The main guy is the dad of Carmichael, and the dad is killed.
Okay.
Or something to that effect. And it's like, now it's this whole power vacuum within this organization and whatnot. And we don't know. I'm just trying to get them on the run a little bit, but also that like the dad was the face of the company, and now it's Carmichael's turn, and his arc would be like being able to rise up and become socially aware and adept and whatnot. And Brody would be able to teach him that. Part of it would be like shaving yourself.
Yeah. I've got to stop shaving you, Carmichael.
Yeah.
It's like, but I love
one more time.
One more time, Brody. One more time, Brody. My chest too. I need you to shave my chest.
Whole body, please. But you know what I mean? Like adding that other kind of fatherly figure behind them.
Yeah, I want to get them on the run too. I think that's where things are going to be fun. Like where he has this kind of comfortable life in this company. Maybe he's part of this inventor company kind of thing, and he's super smart, and his dad was smart. Maybe his dad gets killed, but I think the threat has to be really, really big if they're just going to go on the run because the dad left, like it has to be.
If they made it look like he did it, made it look like Carmichael.
Okay. That's what I was going to say. It's like Carmichael needs to actually do something bad, or people need to think Carmichael did something bad.
I think he would have to be doing something bad regardless, like, but not killing his dad bad. And so he would feel like his alibi wouldn't work.
Okay. Let's dive a little deeper into what kind of inventor, like what does he do? What is Carmichael good at?
Cars, obviously.
He's like, my name's actually Michael, but they call me Carmichael.
I invented the car. And so Carmichael.
Carmichael. It's a cool nickname. Then Brody's like, it's not a cool nickname.
That name sucks, dude. I think that's a good question. It could be if you want to go like super realistic, or do you want to go, a little bit more sci-fi?
You know me. I always like sci-fi.
I know.
What's your sci-fi idea?
I don't know. I was just, I couldn't think of anything. But the realistic one was like something in medicine.
Oh, okay.
And so you have like, whatever type of enzymes or something, or a vaccine of some kind, and, some cure.
That could be good. If it's something, I want Carmichael to get them out of sticky situations by like MacGyvering a bomb.
Yeah.
So like, I want him to have those skills, and which might lean more into sci-fi, and maybe we don't have to iron out all of the Iron Man. He's the Iron Man.
Iron Man. Iron it out.
We don't need to, because it could be energy, like arc reactor, whatever.
Yeah.
But something, he goes on the run because people think, oh, you killed him, or there's people are accusing him just because they think, oh, this is our opportunity, whatever. I'm trying to connect the stakes, because like if someone's goal is just for him to not be there, then they're kind of succeeding in him just running away.
That's true.
Are they going to pursue him at that point?
That's true.
Whereas maybe that's how it starts out. They're like trying to scare him off, and they're like, ha, he's gone, or this mysterious big bad. But then they realize that he is like a key component, or knows how to do, he knows some algorithm, or he knows some key thing that's needed for the technology.
The arc reactor.
The arc reactor is going to explode. And Brody kind of gets him out of there. Is Brody the name of Iron Man's friend?
No, it's Happy Hogan.
Well, no, but like Iron War Machine.
Oh, that's Rhodey.
Oh, okay, cool. We're safe. We're good, man.
Yeah. James Rhodes, I think, is War Machine's name.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean that is a little close.
No, we
But
got
it's fine. It's fine.
Carmichael.
I like Brody and Carmichael. It's fine. I think
And
let's
what? Yeah.
blow it up just a little bit. Let's blow it up a little bit. Where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, get rid of the assassin plot. Something that popped into my mind was we have some sort of world-ending event happens.
Okay.
And we are with the elites within their bunker system.
Okay.
And that's the whole thing. It's just like Carmichael is like the lowest rung of the elites that got into the whatever, the 2012 ARC thing or whatever, deep underground tunnels or something. And Brody and his daughter are brought in. It's like a normal guy gets brought in just because he's the bodyguard. And so he's the fish out of water, and he's within this whole other community, this whole other utopia that's at the center of the earth, the hollow earth. I don't know. This is like, again, we're going left turn, but it's just shaking it up. Like we're different plots. We're getting away from the Iron Man thing. It's more of like, hey, now we live in a new society, and I can, what is our relationship? There's all sorts of other espionage and deception that goes on. What do you think about that?
I think that's interesting. I like that. I think that gives a nice dynamic. It gives Brody something to do rather than just muscle and take care of him. Because I imagine he's in this bunker with his daughter, who we'll name in a minute, and him and his daughter are only there because of Carmichael. But then he also recognizes that Carmichael is not good at keeping himself there. Like he's not super well liked. He's not good with the people or the politics of it. He's just very useful. And I could see Brody, while he's there to protect him, he also sees the opportunities where Carmichael needs like a voice piece, like, and he kind of communicates and he does the politicking a little bit for Carmichael, because he thinks in his head, partially out of duty to him, but also he's like, if these guys get mad enough at Carmichael and kick him out, we're going to get kicked out too. So it's kind of like a self-preservation thing. I think that's interesting.
That is.
And then you could have some espionage, like someone who's trying to kill Carmichael within the ranks of things while they're trying to create this thing.
Like create a new utopia, or like get it up online, get it up and running.
So he kind of becomes more or less his assistant as well. Like maybe he was just his bodyguard, but then they could only bring so many essential people. Carmichael's like, well, I'd much rather have my bodyguard here than my assistant. And then
I think just how it shakes out. And you could pick up in media res in that type of story where like, what is the relationship here? Like they live in some sort of, it'd be interesting if it was like some sort of concentration camp style thing. And maybe Brody, to bring his daughter along, Carmichael was like, you only get one food ration. So it's up to you if you want to split that with her. And that's kind of a thing. Not for the whole story, but it's just a world building aspect where it's like they live within this full hoity toity thing with these people who can't even fend for themselves. These super rich people who lived on everyday normal people. I can see the theme here really getting to being like the elites versus the normal people. And eventually Brody like lets in the mutant normal people to kill the rest of the zombies, is basically to kill the elites because he just realizes that they're not fit to survive anyway.
I think skipping ahead will help us define this, because I think we need to skip. I'm always using the story circle, but the go. It's like, what are they trying to? What is the quest? Like, what is Brody trying to accomplish throughout this story? Because is it just protecting his daughter? Because they're there, so it's like something has to happen to prevent that. If that's his main quest, but is there something bigger? Is there something he's trying to help Carmichael solve? Is there something that Carmichael's trying to do? Because I feel like we're trying to establish this place, but we don't have a real big thing for anyone to do while they're there.
That's true.
So I think
understanding what Carmichael's expertise is I mean, other than just being super rich, because that's also kind of flies in the face of what I was just saying about, okay, these people aren't useful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, you were an ultra billionaire and you ran a company, but there's no need for a company anymore because, all these people are dead. Like the world is over. So it's about rebuilding. So you would just be like super low civilizational needs. And you could say, hey, it's to eat, it's to fight off whatever. Maybe Brody gets drafted to be part of the, because he's one of the assistants or whatever, to fend off the mutants.
I have another shake it up idea
Okay,
that
shake it up, dude. Shake it up.
both ideas.
Oh,
so what if we open on we see a little bit of the life, a rich guy, rich company, inventor trying to make something. Carmichael's like, oh, I'm on the verge of a breakthrough, and Brody has to bring him and make sure he eats and stuff because he's just staying up till 3 a.m. Working on stuff. And then one morning, there might be some scenes in between this. Brody's has his daughter with him or something, and then Carmichael comes with like a luggage and like a suitcase, and he's like, "Hey, I need you to drive me. I need you to drive me to the other side of the city." And they're going, and then they realize people are pursuing them. And the big story is Carmichael discovered something or invented something that he needs to get to the other end of the country, like to this bunker that these other contacts he knows. He's like, the company's not safe. There's people there who are not going to use this thing for the right reasons. But I do have people I trust, absolutely. But we have to get to them before people catch us. Because then you have that fun of like, I don't know, there's some kind of end of the world level threat, but then you still have that kind of journey, that travel
road trip.
getting.
Then it would have to be their central relationship would be the thing, that they don't like each other, and the conflict from that is what breeds obviously drama, but also humor. They view the world in two totally different ways. You might even scratch the daughter. I mean, I know she kind of grounds.
I feel like the daughter is what would make Brody very upset by the situation, because Carmichael has enlisted them when his daughter was clearly there, and he's like, I'm sorry she was here, but we just had no other means, and she's part of this now. And
so she is visiting her dad. Her parents are divorced. And so what Carmichael is doing is he's basically saying, kidnap her. Like, we have to go. I need you. You can't leave her. Maybe she's just like, I'm not going to leave her on the side of the road or whatever. So he has to take her. And then he just realizes, like, now he has like the FBI on his butt. I guess that's a separate group of people, though, that kind of entangles the plots a little bit. Where, okay, who's chasing him? You have these people are chasing Brody, but then,
yeah, I don't know if we need to get too lost in the sauce with. I think the daughter's visiting him for like 2 weeks or the summer or something like that, and then in the hecticness, when Carmichael's saying we got to get out of here, the people that are chasing after them kind of clock Brody and the girl, and it's just they are the unit now. Like they have been seen, and and there could be some scenes of the mother calling and being like, "Hey, how's the daughter?" But then I don't want to make it a whole separate, like, you have a separate FBI chasing them. I think that's just he cares more about protecting the daughter, but he's kind of roped into this thing where he has to protect Carmichael to protect his daughter.
Yeah.
And then I like the idea of the daughter being there to kind of connect with them if she's like young, like she's 12 or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And she can connect to Carmichael in a childlike way that Carmichael can't connect to adults normally, and helps kind of act as the bridge between them. I think that could kind of be cool.
I think that's cool. There's an early moment I'm imagining in my head where we see the changing of the guards. So you see maybe an older bodyguard is like, okay, you get your week off with your daughter, enjoy your week off, buddy. And he's like, okay, yeah, Brody. And he goes and he spends time with his daughter. And then that guy comes back into play as a bad guy, or as a guy that betrayed Carmichael, or he's just straight up, Carmichael shows up with like blood all over him, and Brody's like, what is going on? What?
Yeah.
Are you hurt? He's like, no. Then like, what happened? And he's like, oh, that's Thomas. That's Tommy. But yeah, he says like, yeah, I had to shoot him. Carmichael tells him like, I had to shoot him.
I think that's interesting. I think that's interesting for playing the film out in a way that you don't, for a long time, you don't know if you can fully trust Carmichael, because we're going based on a lot of what he's saying, and you don't necessarily know if he's the bad guy or if he's not the bad guy.
He'd have to be really compelling. The reason would have to be compelling for him to follow him and to help him.
That's true.
Because otherwise he's like, oh, you just killed somebody? So maybe that's not like,
yeah.
Maybe you would just imply that that's what happened. Or maybe you see his car's got like a dent in the hood or whatever. And you just, I don't know. I'm trying to set up some good foils. Like if we have the other bodyguard as a bad guy, like a father type figure, like older on the job guy, who actually betrays Carmichael. But maybe something that you see early on is Brody and his boss are like bonding over how big of a jerk Carmichael is. And so you get like endeared to this older guy where you're like, oh man, yeah, this guy gets it. But then he actually like sets out to try and kill him.
I think having some sort of scene early on where Carmichael comes to find him and he's like, hey, they're after me. He's paranoid. And Brody's trying to calm him down and being like, I think you're thinking too much into this and stuff. And maybe the other bodyguard shows up and Carmichael's hiding.
Oh,
and then you kind of have that interaction where he's like, hey, he's acting weird. And then through their conversation, they kind of get this like my hands at my hip, gonna draw my gun kind of energy. And then that's what, like, they have this fight, and that's what causes Brody to believe Carmichael. And there's no one like dies there, like, because I imagine that guy's like a big bad or something, like he gets thrown out a window or something.
Yeah.
But then he's like, shoot, okay. And then I don't know, that guy outranks Brody, so he calls him back up. He's like, bodyguard Brody is assisting. He's kidnapped the guy. Yeah. And then okay, I think that helps a lot, because then he's stuck. He's like, okay, everyone thinks I'm a criminal, and they're all after Carmichael, and he's trying to kill Carmichael, so I need to keep him safe because he's my alibi. And then I think that gets them on the road.
Yeah.
And then Carmichael's like, I know where we got to go, but we got to go now. And then grabs the daughter, and they all just hit the road. We just
give it a good MacGuffin where we give them a reason where he just has like a suitcase of some kind.
I pictured like he had like this like metal, like high-tech locked suitcase, some sort of thing. And then
inside is like the Omnitrix from Ben 10.
The Omnitrix. He's like, you can turn into any alien. Could you imagine? Hold on. I'm going to pause this for a second. And if you just, this whole movie's playing out, you don't know what the thing is. And then at the 11th hour, it's like, Brody's like almost dead. And the bad guys, and the guy opens the gate, and the daughter puts on an Omnitrix and like turns into an alien. And she's like, I'm Gwen 10.
Yeah, well, that was his
Gwen
husband.
Is the other one. Yeah, I know.
We got a Ben 10 fan here, guys. We got a Ben 10 fan here, man. I like Ben 10 too, you know.
We all like Ben 10.
But actually, I mean, that would be kind of cool. Like, what if it was an entity of some kind or some multi-dimensional
I think making it super buck wild at the end is really cool, because you just think, I don't know, it's a cure for something, or it's this computer program, and then it's something super crazy at the end.
That is cool.
I like that. I like a couple scenes. I know this took a while to get set up, but I like the setup at this point, because I think there's this tension between Brody and Carmichael, and then the daughter's like trying to get to know Carmichael and talking. And I imagine scenes at like hotels, and like you can have some fun games too, where they're because I picture Carmichael kind of as an adult child a little bit, while he's really smart, but then they find a fair.
Like, why are you shaving him?
Yeah.
You know, like she just calls into question a lot of the things, and like, why do you make my dad shave you or whatever? I know that's the one thing we're focusing on, but there'll be plenty of other things.
they're driving to this place and they pass a fair, and the daughter's like, "Can we go to the fair?" And then Carmichael's like, "My dad used to bring me to the fair," and like he's like outweighs the majority vote, and they go to the fair. No, I like that. I think it's fun. I think it's definitely a road trip story with some threats and peril.
Helping figure out what is at the end could help us juice up some of the middle.
Yep.
Where I'm thinking we kind of develop our own symbiote of some kind.
Okay.
Some alien or like Star Kid. You remember Star Kid?
Like with the little thing that opens so he can pee
it's
out
like the back
the
of the
neck.
suit. Oh yeah. He pees out the neck. Does he really? I don't remember that part.
No, if we're thinking of the same, like that, it's like that Disney-ish movie, right? Where the kid goes in the suit of like armor. Yeah. Do you not remember that part, man? He doesn't pee out the neck, but there's like this scene where the kid's in the suit of armor and he's just like, "I have to pee." And the suit's like, "I do not understand." He's like, I have to pee. He's like, "I don't understand." He's like, "I have to urinate." He's like a 12-year-old kid.
Yeah.
He's like, "I have to urinate." And it's like, "Oh, open urination panel." And the neck just opens up. And then the kid's like, "Oh no."
That's great. It's been forever since I've seen it, but I did love it as a kid.
That scene, I don't know, little kid me, that's locked in my head. I'm like, that's so funny. And I think he has to go to like the teacher's house and she has to use a screwdriver to like open the leg plate so he can go pee.
Oh wow, man. Yep. You remember way more of the movie than I do. I just remember the VHS.
Do you remember the bad guy in the movie?
Is it another suit? Like
no, it's
like a monster, yeah.
It's like a alien, but it like can only hear. Like it can't see anything. All its stuff is like hearing based, I think.
Interesting. Very quiet place. Quiet place. So I don't know, something to that degree. I know we're trying to avoid the Iron Man thing.
Yeah.
Venom symbiote stuff is just an organic version of that. I don't know.
It could be funny if like there's all these allusions to, he's like, people are like always say like I'm Iron Man, but I'm just not as cool, and just like that like comes up a lot, and then at the end it is like some sort of suit.
Yeah,
or he's like I am Iron Man, and then he kills the bad guy.
He totally kills the big boss. Just turns him into a smear. And that's it. That's all it is. It's just he shoots him once and that's it.
But it could be a symbiote. It could be. So I was also thinking like something multi-dimensional could be cool, like something that alters time. Time is something cool, that like
enters a whole other set of issues and rules. But I don't know. Even something as simple as like a shrink ray. I know that's like very Ant-Man territory. So whatever. But or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I really like taking older properties and putting them into different, scenarios, I guess, with the Stuart Little one we did. But anyway, something as really novel as that, something really simple, but then, we wrap it up in this corporate espionage and people are chasing him and the board is after him. The board has decided like, hey, your time is up, Carmichael.
Yeah, I think the final weapon, if people don't really know what it is, they just know he was working on something and he ran off with it. And then it becomes, they all think, oh, it's a super nuke or something. But then it's not super violent. It's like powerful, but in a different way, like the point of view gun from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Oh, yeah.
Like something like that where it's like, oh, wow, that's crazy that you invented that. But it's not like a weapon to go bomb some country
Something with animals could be kind of interesting. You could seed that throughout. To cite, Batman Begins and Batman Year One, Bruce Wayne has developed that sonar thing that attracts all the bats. It's like, it could just be something that was developed for a really simple reason, blasting barnacles off of ships, like a sound gun of some kind. Or even we could pull on Half-Life, where they have the gravity gun. And that's it. It's just a gravity gun.
A gravity gun is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Just like a gravity manipulator.
Yeah, and you just grab it and just, can swing people around. It's kind of like District 9. Do you remember District 9?
I know of the movie, but I've never seen the movie.
So there's a scene where they're the prawn aliens that come and they show up, and it's all about apartheid because they have to live in their own little sector or whatever. But they break into where the government has been keeping all of their advanced weapons and stuff, and they find all these advanced guns and they shoot a lot of the guards with them, and they just blow up. And it's just cool, like high tech guns that just. But anyway, it just reminds me a little bit of that. But yeah, just a gravity gun could be really cool.
I think that's neat. Thing.
And maybe while there's like he has the suitcase like handcuffed to him, and maybe at night, like the daughter wakes up in one of the motels and she just sees Carmichael floating. And he's just, like, and all the stuff around him is floating too.
What if it's like a gauntlet? Like, what if it's like goes up his arm and then he can like manipulate gravity that way?
That's cool. Or a helmet.
What?
Or a helmet.
Or a helmet. I just had the image that he's holding the suitcase the whole time. And when things like finally break bad, seriously, like he doesn't open the suitcase, like he like punches it and it engages and it opens the other way and it wraps around his arm.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Like from like the handle. And I don't know, that image was kind of cool to me where he just
so this is cool. If we want to get into crazier like CEO type, Tony Stark, but on roids a little bit, that because he's kind of Elon Musk, you can't get away from that a little bit with the inventor CEO, whatever.
Yeah.
But that he actually had his arm. He's like, you remember when I got in that ski accident and I had to be in the hospital or whatever, like 6 years ago or something. He's like, I actually had my arm surgically removed and replaced with a replica that housed this thing.
That housed so is the suitcase just like a decoy? Like he actually has the thing in his arm?
Yeah, or maybe suitcase just has stuff in it, papers. You just open it up and it's like, a pair of white underwear with skid marks.
Just a single pair of tiny whiteys. Just, and they're like
totally skid marked up.
The guy's like, where is it?
They're not even clean. They're not even clean. You've been making me carry this around this entire time.
That seems like something that some sort of like socially inept inventor guy would do, that he's like has this thing as the decoy the entire time, and then that's like the bad guys. He's like, what is this? And the guy's like, he like had thrown Carmichael, and then he turns and Carmichael's arms like all like skidded up and like all the metal. He's like, oh, it's been here the whole time, man. And then he just like gravity like crushes him with, like,
that's cool. Yeah. He just
and then they're like, Brody's like, you just killed that man. He's like, yeah, I didn't realize I was going to do that.
I didn't realize it was tuned up that high or whatever.
I thought I was just going to squeeze him a little bit.
That's cool. That's cool. I like that a lot. The gravity thing is really interesting. I do think we're going to have to work on ironing out, no pun intended again, the arm replacement thing. It could be replacing his hand. He's like, I went back and forth for months on whether it was for my right hand or my left hand, and he ends up going with his left hand or whatever, which is kind of an interesting, tuck that away for a title. But yeah, like that idea that he hid the technology within his own body is cool. And he had been experimenting on himself. And there's a little bit of that mad scientist in there where it's like, I'm willing to cut off my own limbs, for the sake of keeping my secrets.
Yeah, I think that's really neat.
So is the only big bad guy we have, I guess the board is after him. So it's a little bit like, I don't know, like Michael Clayton, a little bit like Norman Osborn, crazy.
Yeah, I think so. You could have the board who wants some sort of, they're like, whatever he's working on, we want it. And you have the main head of security dude who's like the big bad. And then I think he would rope in, like he'd
have an army,
Well, I think he's got his people within the company, but I think he's got a dirty cop equivalent vibe where he's got criminal friends from his past, and maybe some of them are the big bads too. Like he's roping them in because he wants to actually get the thing for them. He's not trying to get the thing and bring it back to the board.
Yeah.
Then I know we said we don't want too many multiple people, but these are two people working in tandem, two groups. It's like
he would just have a
security
guy
and then
and then you have dude that he would be like, hey, yeah, you're my assassin group that I've hired to take out this guy, and it's like, oh yeah, of course we'll take him out. And they're just like, black label dudes that go out.
I really like the fun reveal of the gravity thing at the end, but it is a shame because there could be a lot of cool stuff that we see him do.
Can reveal it early on. I think at least mid-act type thing where the whole time he's carrying this suitcase around. The suitcase is actually just a bomb. I think that's kind of interesting where he's like, yeah, that's just my insurance. He keeps calling it that. It's like, that's my insurance. And Brody's like, okay. And at one point the daughter has it or whatever. And he comes to find out that it's a bomb, and so they're out in the middle of the noise. Like, no, you tell me what we are doing. Like, we have these guys chasing us. I might have just killed some guys at the fair, that caught up to us and whatever. And we have like some serious forces using satellites to track us right now. Like, they know where we're at. It's just a matter of time. Like, you need to tell me right now what they want. And then he just is like out in the desert or wherever they end up, and ends up destroying something with the gravity gun.
Yeah.
Like an old school bus sits nearby. He like picks it up and is like,
I think that's pretty cool. And then we know, the audience knows that it's part of him. Because the other thing we could do is that he uses this gravity thing to help them out of situations, but he always does it under the guise of opening the case. And like, he's controlling something in the case.
Yeah.
And then the big reveal is that it's not the case, it's him. Like, it was in him. It's not the case. It's not the case.
It's not the case. It's not the case.
It's not the case. It's not the case. But then, but I still like to think that it's a bomb or something. So like early on, it's introduced. It's like, wow, you have this gravity device in this suitcase that you can control gravity nearby. That's crazy. And then when all is lost, and it's like, oh no, the big bad got the suitcase. Turns out it's like, wait, there's not. Just put tidy whities in the suitcase and a bomb.
The last thing he sees are his dirty underwear, which would be a really funny punchline. Like, the whole time he can't take care of himself.
Yeah.
And Brody's like shoves his dirty underwear in there.
I like the idea that the reveal, I like saving the reveal that the technology is inside of him towards the end, but showing the gravity stuff off maybe halfway.
Yeah.
Because
I
that's
think
just
if
cool.
he was wearing a watch
if they had
or something, it's something a little bit more close to what it is. I guess the suitcase obviously makes it like, that's a fun gag, and you know what I mean? And he could have other gadgets too. He doesn't need to have like,
maybe he has a big watch thing, something that it gets separated from them at the end, and the bad guy thinks they won because they have it, and then turns out it's inside of the dude. It's inside you all along. But I like the idea of this scene, like in the middle, where they have snipers on them, and they're like, we're done, and he's like, hold on, I'm working on something, and all the snipers shoot, and like 20 feet from them, all the bullets like go straight down because the gravity increases around them.
That's cool.
I think that's pretty cool. And then maybe he's like, oh, let me try this, and he does something, and then the bullets and they all just like shoot backwards where they came. Shoot all the snipers.
right.
There's a lot of
yeah, I mean, it seems like we're just letting Carmichael kill everybody, which is fine. Having Brody fight his boss, I think, is super important. Having him overcome like the darker version of himself, or maybe even hears his boss, or his boss gets him on the phone at some point, and he's like, "Hey, you know what's on the other side of this for you, right? Like, your daughter can live, and millions of dollars. We can cut you in. It's not that hard. There's a lot to go around." There's a lot to go around. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And then eventually he obviously, chooses to save Carmichael and not betray him or whatever.
I think the arc of Carmichael is realizing he is a good guy, where you don't, maybe Brody doesn't realize that at first, but then realizes later on, oh, there's good in him, and he's a good guy. I think Brody's learning to, I feel like something with his daughter, like connecting with her in a better way, is kind of an arc of his throughout the story, and along with Carmichael. And then Carmichael is trying to, I think his whole arc is that he just wants to be alone in a room and invent stuff. And then he is like learning what it means to be a friend and actually care about these other people.
Using technology for good, I think, would be the ultimate thing. Although you'd have to ask, like, why did they want to take it from him if he was going to be a bad guy anyway? It's like, help us just use it for evil stuff. I guess because they would just use it. Maybe
Yeah,
he's
I think
not. This is kind of a little bit of a shakeup, but maybe he's not the CEO. It's a little much. What if he's just like a scientist guy? Um, that
he
ends up.
wouldn't have a bodyguard at that point, I don't think.
No, but it would be. He could have like a security guard that he knows all the time.
That's true. He could have a
You know, so
security
he could be
guard.
just a security guard. That makes the fighting a lot harder, though. He's not like a Black Ops guy. Brody isn't. Wouldn't have that background. I mean, maybe a little bit. Maybe you'd have to be that level clearance to be a security guard at this facility or whatever. And he decides to take the technology. That feels like we've seen that before, though. Of like, oh, in Logan, you know, they're going to use the little kids to do bad stuff. Oh, okay, they run away. Don't make me do bad stuff. Mr. Logan, help me. Snicked, got my claws. Rah. Yeah, I want something a little more complex. Or maybe something that I haven't seen before in this territory. Which I know would maybe fundamentally change some of it. But like, what does Brody need to learn? Because if you got rid of Brody, then the story could be just this guy on the run, and he has to, you know, convince people to help him.
I get that. Yeah, I feel like Carmichael's the most interesting thing going on, and Brody's not doing much. He's just there.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think we should kill him off. I think, although that would be kind of interesting. Actually. That would be interesting. Okay, so midpoint shift is Brody is killed, but the daughter's still with him. The daughter
he
is
has
still with
to
Carmichael.
take the daughter. And then okay, I think this could work because that would mean Carmichael has to step up and actually be the adult and protector of this girl and make the bigger choice for someone else. I think that is the motivation that Carmichael needs to have major change.
Agreed. And I think that satisfies the Zach Lovelace itch to have it be somewhat devastating. That's usually my go-to thing. Adds a lot of weight to it, is like a girl seeing her dad. You know, and he lays down his life for her. And the whole thing is like, we won't touch your girl, man. We won't do anything, you know, hey, you know, whatever. The assassin dudes come up and they're able to get the jump on Brody. And Carmichael can be younger too. We could age them around a little bit to make them about the same age, or we could make it like legit kind of a man child has to take care of a child. I think that's the theme.
Yeah, I feel like her still being like 12, 14, some teenager, and him being like 28, like kind of this wonderkin.
Yeah. Or even like 35 and just like kind of a, you know, again, a bumbling man child. He's got far enough along where it's like he is a liability to the company. The board has voted against you because, you know, of your antics or whatever. You know, you don't make wise choices and, you know, calculated choices. And so they decide to turn on him or whatever. And that actually would lead to the board having to be taken out too, which would be really legit. That like at the end, he gets to the boardroom. And that's what he's like trying to do the whole time. You think he's trying to get to some like, you know, escape path or whatever. And it's really just to get to the boardroom and kill the board.
So this is a movie about loose ends. This is like John Wick, loose ends.
A little bit, yeah.
Because that's kind of what John Wick is about. The whole point of John Wick is he needs to tie up his loose ends so he can just hang out and chill with his dog.
No one's trying to kill me. Yeah, nobody's trying to kill me. And yeah, he's trying to now make sure that nobody's going to mess with this girl.
Yeah.
And so yeah, he is tying up loose ends.
I think that's interesting, and I like the scene because I think there could be a scene where she's mad at him and she said he wouldn't have died unless you brought us here, like tossing the blame to him, and then he has to man up. He shaves himself and he nicks himself while he's doing that. That's the
scene where he's like uses his robot hand to shave himself.
Yeah, and then he says, I'm gonna take care of this, and we're gonna end this, and then I'll take you back to your mother, and you don't have to see me again. And they bond a little bit. I think it's funny how killing a main character out in the middle of the movie helps really springboard the rest of the character's motivations.
Oh yeah.
But and then he does that, and then he grows up a little bit in this journey. He has to take care of her. She kind of bonds with him in some weird, strange way. at the end where she wants to stay like connected to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, in touch.
I think the big thing is that she kills the boss that killed her dad.
I think that's cool.
That he hands the gravity thing to her at some point, you know? And
I thought it's inside of him.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
I think he could invent he has other weird weapons and gizmos that he's
That's true. I mean, straight up like a laser, something with a laser could be really interesting.
Because I think that's something that when she's mad at him, maybe that later that night, and she's like they're in this like dirty motel, and like she's on her bed just like pouting, and then he's like goes into his duffel and he's like, hey, can I show you? And he has like all these like cool things. He's like, hey, this thing can absorb light and like blast it or something like that.
I think a laser was really cool, like a watch. That's very spy-like. Yeah. Just like straight up like cuts through anything. He's like, it's like a lightsaber, except it only stops like as it's hitting things, like it's melting things. It's not like I haven't been able to figure out how to get it to stop like they have in Star Wars, you know? And he says lasers can't burn through blue, which is true. And so that he's like talking her through it or whatever. And at one point they're in some sort of fight, maybe at the fair, and they're on the like merry-go-round or whatever. And she has to like jump into a blue thing, and he like, and it like cuts the whole thing in half, except for the blue thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. And then she uses, I feel like she uses one of these tools at the end.
Yeah. Like I think she would use the laser. Like, you know, he throws his watch or loses it or whatever. And, you know, she's able to pick it up, and the main bad guy, the boss, her dad's boss, has got Carmichael cornered, and maybe his arm is pinned or something like that, so he can't.
Yeah, or he gets tased or something, and he can't use his power. And then she's like, "Hey," and she says some dramatic line, and she just like cuts the guy in half.
Yeah, just shoots him like in the head with it, and it takes him like a full second to die, you know, because it's so precise.
Yeah, it's like a David and Goliath thing.
Yeah. This falls forward. Yeah, but she kills him. I think that's kind of cool. And
I
so,
like it.
You know, they're going through a lot of violent things. I think you have to have some space for that too, for them to kind of get through these episodes and not be like, oh, I'm fine with killing people. You know.
Yeah, I don't think they're like super fun. I know we were joking earlier of Carmichael killing literally everyone.
Yeah.
I don't think he's trying to do that. I think there comes a point like when they kill Brody that he's more willing to try to put an end to some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it makes sense. And yeah, maybe he is trying to, maybe he still does have contacts he trusts somewhere else. And he's like, I want to get this technology somewhere safe where it's going to be studied and tested, not weaponized immediately.
Yeah.
Because he tells the girl, he's like, did you see me pop that guy like a grape? We can't have that power in everyone's hands.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah, I think he would just, you know, disappear. He's like, I'm just going to disappear from now on. Like, the best thing for this technology to do is just not be in anyone's hands except mine. You know, it's a little Iron Man-y, but I do think that he does kill the board. Like, he walks in on one of their meetings and he's all covered in dust and is beat up and everything. And they're all like, oh, you know, and he's just like, you know, he says whatever to them and then just pops them all like grapes.
Yeah. I think some sort of over dramatic, like he comes in and he has like a boom box and he like hits play and it's like da 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 da, and he's like, and he's like, yeah, it's either slow motion. It's like he's like floating the room, and then he's like dropping people down, and then like they're just flying, and then eventually just pops them, and then yeah, like he's not going out to be a supervillain. He just is trying to wrap up this whole thing.
My take on that, because that's very like Sam Rockwell. I could see Sam Rockwell doing that. You know, like dancing and floating in the air and being kind of crazy cool.
Yeah.
I think he comes in and the whole time, you know, maybe even before Brody dies, is like, what are you going to, you know, I guess that would make it sound like Brody would know that's where he's going, to the boardroom, but maybe the whole time Carmichael is rehearsing a speech, you know, ladies and gentlemen of the board, you know, the whole time. And he has this whole speech or whatever. And then he gets in there and he's just like, ladies and gentlemen of the board, And then he just kills him.
Yeah, he's
afraid of public speaking. He can't do it.
He's going to try to convince them. He was going to try to convince them with his words why they shouldn't pursue this path.
He's like,
but then when they send like an entire army after them and like kill his friend, then he's just like, nah, and just gravitifies all of them. And then he leaves, and then he's like kind of, no one knows where he goes. And I don't know, maybe depending on how close a bond. But I feel like with her only being 14, then it's probably just like they just go their separate ways. Because if she was like older or an adult, I feel like there could be that thing where she gets in the mail like a burner phone. So if she ever needed him, she could reach him. But that feels weird with her being a teenager.
I feel like that's my point. Like aging her up, making it a little more appropriate. But I honestly think it's just more about like that they have a bond now. And you don't do anything more than that. It just ends with her, being reunited with her mom.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. It's just, they share kind of a final thing. And then it's like, you took care of me. You took care of me. Like my dad took care of you.
Yeah.
And so, that you gave me a little bit of my dad there at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of cool.
I've got a potential line for.
Oh, me too.
When we get to, okay. Well,
so before we get there, because landing the plane, we got to name it. We got to name it. So we got Carmichael, we got Brody, we got the girl that we didn't name. We never named her.
It doesn't matter. Audience, fill in your own name for this girl. We've told the whole story with her. Do you have any ideas for a title? Has anything come to mind?
So the dumb title that popped in my mind was Carmichael Kills Everyone, which obviously is a spoiler. But that was just something we almost said earlier. Yeah, it's just like, what does that mean? This is what it means. Because it is about the loose ends story, like you're saying. I think we could probably pull a title from some sort of like boardroom terms. Or even but the left hand thing, that it's like installed in his hand. There's that phrase of like, don't let your right hand know what the left like is doing. Like keeping those things a secret. That I kind of like that. I mean, it could be the left hand. I don't know.
I feel like that's too like, that's giving away that it's something about his hand, though. I think
that's fair.
If you're trying to hide that,
I guess that comes out. Like Brody says that before he dies, like he gets him to admit what it is, right? Or maybe after Brody dies, the daughter is like, my dad died for whatever it is that you're hiding. You need to tell me what it is. That makes more sense, I think. And then she's like, you could have saved him. She's all mad at him about that. And it's like, where are you going to go? These guys are going to kill you. You got to stay with me. That's a pretty good scene. I like a lot of the drama here. It's a pretty tight like group, even though we're dealing with a lot of people, just that dynamic of the three. Is great. The man-child, the man and the child.
It's really about those two mostly. Brody's kind of just there to connect them.
Yeah, he's there to be missed at some point. And then the daughter killing the boss at the end, getting revenge. Or maybe she chooses not to, and then Brody or Carmichael does it anyway. It's just like, I'm not nearly as merciful, and then just No Marvel villains here. I'm tired of the Marvel villain thing where it's like, we're going to give the Green Goblin the anti-Green Goblin juice, and now he's going to not be the Green Goblin anymore.
The gravity of the situation.
I thought about that too. Yeah, something with gravity popped in my mind. But again, we don't want to give away what it is.
Gravitas.
That's kind of cool. All right, I got it. Okay, so ambidextrous is when you are right-handed in both hands, traditionally speaking, within Latin, that you are skilled in both. And being right-handed was what most people are throughout history. And we talked about how Carmichael's put it into his left hand. He put whatever technology that allows him to use the gravitational field or whatever. And so that term, though, to be two left hands is ambiSINISTER, which is something that sinister coming from Latin sinistra, which means left-handed or on the left side. And so just laying that in there where it's ambiSINISTER, and I feel like I can hear a lot of lines, and you could probably think of some too. about this type of thing, but it could be the name of his company, could be Sinistra, or we could just land on ambiSINISTER and let that be what it is, like just kind of a secret thing or a thematic conversation that they have at some point where he explains that to probably the daughter.
I like the idea of him being clumsy, and that's something that he says. He's like, because that sounds like something a overly smart person would say. They're like, "Oh, I'm ambiSINISTER," and they're like, "What?" And he says, "It means," and he does your explanation. He says, "Oh, it means double left hand. I'm clumsy." Yeah. I've always had that, because I think having that line somewhere of him explaining that, even though it's the title, would help tie in the bigger picture of
agreed.
things.
And the fact that he's really not a good guy. Like at the end of the day, he's looking to tie up loose ends. He's sinister in his approach. He's like, the only way out of this is to go through it, is to just go all the way to the head of the snake and chop it off. And so there's that kind of edginess that the daughter has to put up with, obviously. And, it endangers her, but where else can she go? You know, she's the further we are from safety or whatever, the closer we are to danger, the further we are from harm, or whatever it is from Lord of the Rings. I just totally butchered that, but I like that.
I like that. I think that's ambiSINISTER is going to be the name of this one.
Nice.
And I think we both might have had some lines. I can drop mine first because yours might be better.
Okay,
I'll throw mine out, and then
you'll
if
hear
yours,
both. Audience, you'll hear both of them. So
unless his is bad, and then I'll end it after mine.
Then we're gonna cut it out, and you'll never know. You'll never hear it.
But I was just thinking, when obviously he deals with the bad people around them. There's like the big shootout and the big fight. But that's not his boardroom. Like the boardroom is kind of like very final shot kind of where he goes to the boardroom. So they just survived. Him and the daughter just survived, and they're kind of walking off, and they're a bit beat up and dusty. And he said, he kind of looks at her. He says, "So I did an all right job taking care of you." And she's like, "Yeah, you did. I think it's time for you to take care of yourself now." Just kind of this closure where he doesn't take care of anything or anyone, to the point that he has people shave him. And then when he learns to take care of her, it's time for him to actually like think about himself and take care of himself in the big picture.
I like that a lot. That's a really good line. Especially since that kind of works both directions, where it's her also saying like, "I'm done here."
It's like, "Hey, you're done with me. You don't have to feel indebted to me anymore." It's kind of also like can be seen as a positive thing, because she could say, "Hey, you're indebted to me in a sense, like it's your fault, my dad." But it's kind of her releasing him too.
That's true.
And saying like, "Hey, you don't have to worry about me anymore.
Yeah, I like
you
that.
Go take care of you."
I like that a lot. So that'll be the formal answer for our along the lines, and I'll give you a couple of just fun color lines. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, let's see. So the one line I had when he goes into the boardroom, I'd been writing them down the whole time. He comes into the boardroom, and we talked about him like having a speech, and then he decides not to do it. And this is his little build up to it. He says, "I came this far in hopes that words would work, but I realize now that's not the case. You only speak power, so power is what you'll get." And then he just crushes them.
I like that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then kind of tie in the title, which I'm always a sucker for tying in the theme and everything, is that he says, "I haven't always been left-handed." Just super succinct. And it's like, weirdo thing to say, but obviously it's because he had his hand removed or whatever. That's ambiSINISTER.
That's ambiSINISTER. And folks, you got so many lines this time around. You got so much stuff. And we usually end on the line, but we're not doing that because we did so many lines.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. Share this with a friend. Please. If you have other people who like stories, use our links and send some suggestions. What other things do you think could make the story better? What other plot points did we miss? Yeah, send us some images and stuff like that.
Appropriate images.
Please send appropriate. Some weird art or frames or something that we could use as a basis for a story.
They could be from a comic book behind the scenes like I chose. It could be literally a picture that you took even that you think is just compelling and has some cool, story behind it. I would love to do that. So yeah, shoot us an email at storyfellaspodcast@gmail.com. Is that what it is?
I believe so. It should be in the show notes, y'all. You can find it there.
Awesome.
But we appreciate everyone who's listening. Thank you for tuning in and checking out our stories that we make up. And until the next one, we will catch you later.
See ya.
Thank you all for listening to StoryFellas, a part of the Pemmican Studios podcast network. Check out our show notes for bonus material, links, and more. To find out more about our current projects, send us messages, and suggest ideas for the show, go to StoryFellasPodcast.com. If you liked what you heard, share the show with a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to grow this community. Until next time, go make and break those stories.